Hello YouTube, and welcome to the first video in a little while. Took a little break from YouTubing while some stuff happened in real life, and thought while we were watching a couple of war attacks from recent wars in the background, we'd talk a little bit about the update and give you my thoughts on what's likely, what I see likely to happen with war, and how the update is likely to change war. So obviously loons are a big thing in war, and I think wouldn't say it's overpowered yet. I think we need to wait a little bit for base design to catch up before we can really comment on that, but it's certainly a big improvement for balloons, making air attacks viable at Town Hall 10 and 11, which is pretty cool. But it's not all about balloons. The update also gave buffs to dragons and P.E.K.K.A.s as well, and also new troop levels to hogs and possibly some other stuff. And obviously the big thing for Town Hall 11 is the elixir spell in the CC. So I think there's going to be a lot of evolution and attack styles still to come. Obviously the big one, which is the easy one for people to latch onto, is laloon. So we're seeing a lot of that at the moment, but I think that will settle down as base design catches up. But what I would say is a change from pre-update to post-update is haste spells are much more useful for lalooning post-update than they were pre-update, so that's a pretty big thing with the attack speed. Didn't want to focus too much on loons because there's lots of other stuff in the update too. So we'll talk a little bit about base design, some defense tips for anti-air, a little bit about war strategy and what that means post-update, and also CC troops. So obviously with the rise of air attacks at the moment, I think we're probably going to see a little bit more variety in CC troops. So the traditional baby drag, 3 Valks and a wizard, or whatever it was, is probably likely to go out the window in favour of more troops in the CC that can target both ground and air. So baby drags are good. We might see wizards come back, maybe minions, things like that. That's a bit more versatile. So the bit of variety in CC troops would be a good thing. In terms of base design, I think, well, let's just talk briefly about Town Hall 9. I've felt this for a little while, but I think Town Hall 9 as being a place of interest for war, and what I mean by interest is a place where wars can get decided, I think it's dead. For a long time, Town Hall 9's been 3-starable by most Town Hall 9s, and in most wars, all Town Hall 9s get tripled. That's happening not just at the elite level, but at most kind of intermediate level clans, and so I think it's just not an interesting place for war at the moment, and I think that's probably a deliberate design by Supercell to get more people to move up to Town Hall 10 and 11 where it is interesting and challenging. I think that's probably a good thing, but that's just my own thought. I don't think they're ever going to rebalance Town Hall 9. It's just going the way of Town Hall 8, but that just happens. It's evolution in the game. In terms of base design, we're seeing here a couple of Town Hall 10 hits on what are ring bases, and this was the base build meta pre-update. Town Hall bang smack in the middle, big gap around it, and what that does is it pushes all the defenses to the outside of the base and makes them accessible, and that makes them hugely vulnerable to air attacks after the update. So I think we're likely to see this kind of ring base go out the window as people catch up and start to see their base getting 3-starred by air attacks more and more. And we'll move back to more of an anti-3-star design. And I think it's going to be quite a fun time for war. I think we're likely to see a lot of cat and mouse design happening. So you can build a base that's difficult to kind of anti-air, anti-3-star for air at Town Hall 10 and 11, and that's going to make it vulnerable to ground attacks because they didn't nerf bowlers. Ground is still strong. It's just that we've had bowlers being king for so long in war that people have been optimizing their bases specifically for anti-mass bowler attacks, and I think now that air is also strong, people are going to have to make choices in base design. Do I build a base that's difficult to attack by air or difficult to attack by ground? Trying to do both I think is very difficult, so there's a bit of a cat and mouse as to how you have your base design, and that's going to be quite fun. But it also creates choices for clans in terms of their own war strategy. Do they use their Town Hall 11s to dip and hit Town Hall 10s because the extra troop levels they've got and the extra hero levels and the extra elixir spell certainly makes that a much more reliable hit than it ever used to be. But the counterpoint though is that Town Hall 11 versus Town Hall 11 3-stars we're already seeing are actually much more viable than Town Hall 10 versus 10 triples in war, or at least as viable anyway. So there's some choices to make. Do you use your 11s to dip and maybe leave yourself short on Town Hall 10 versus 10 if you're up against a clan that knows how to triple Town Hall 11s, so you might find yourself a bit short at the end of war. So there's probably some cat and mouse in war strategies as well, and I think that's all refreshing and good. But in terms of base design, we'll see here, this is another ring base, and from an air attack point of view, there's a lot of things that are bad about this. So the Archer Queen is near an air defense, which are both valuable targets to take out in an air attack, and also next to a wizard tower, so there's lots of high value targets right next to each other. I think we're likely to see the Archer Queen start to be placed more centrally in bases, so it's harder to reach her. She is a key target to take out if you want to do an air attack. And also move her away from other high value targets, so things like Inferno towers or air defenses. We're likely to see wizard towers get moved away from air defenses, so that balloons that are targeting a wizard tower aren't being protected by the wizard tower's not going to get distracted by a hound sat on top of the air defense, so having your wizard towers away from the range of the air defense is likely to pop out as well. And I thought also people being a bit more careful about where they use their red bombs. And I say red bombs, black bombs, obviously people know about those. But if you group your red bombs together, 3 or 4 red bombs will actually take out a group of level 6 balloons. So thinking about where you place those, and maybe you take a risk and you lump all your red balloons up near one of your wizard towers, so that if the red bombs don't quite take out the balloons, then the wizard tower finishes them off. Those type of things we're likely to see come back into base design. Quite how that all pans out with also making a base anti-ground will be very interesting to see. But those type of things, I think it's good for war. It's refreshing. It creates opportunities for people who are skilled at ground or skilled at air, to a bit more variety in their attacks, and it also means that base scouting is back. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all army for 3-starring Town Hall 10s in war in terms of a well-designed war attack. So it's base scouting and attack planning back in fashion. It's all good. This is Uncle. Hope you've enjoyed.